Okay, in the crazy high-stakes battle for AI dominance, a brand new fighter has just stepped into the ring. We're talking about Amazon, and they're making a huge play with their latest custom chip, the Trainium3. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into how this chip, the system around it, and frankly, a pretty unique business strategy could shake up the entire AI hardware game. You know, this whole AI boom is like a modern-day gold rush, right? And for the longest time, Nvidia's been the one selling all the picks and shovels. But AWS, a beast in its own right with a long history of making its own silicon, is pretty much done sitting on the sidelines. With Trainium3, they're not just making another chip. Oh no, they're making an aggressive move to become self-sufficient in a way that could seriously rattle the industry. So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get a lay of the land, the competitive world Trainium3 was born into. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of its pretty impressive performance jump from the last generation. After that, we'll see how it's all part of this bigger AI factory system, unpacked well, frankly, the surprising low-cost strategy behind it, and then wrap up by looking at what it all means for the future of this chip war. All right, let's set the stage. Trainium3 isn't just popping up out of nowhere. It's stepping into a full-on gladiator arena where giants have been battling it out for years. So on one side, you've got the undisputed champion, Nvidia, and they're protected by this massive, massive wall that is their CUDA software ecosystem. On the other side, a growing list of challengers. You've got Google with its powerful TPUs, AMD is making a comeback, and now AWS. But what's really fascinating here is that AWS isn't just trying to build a faster chip. They're attacking from a completely different angle, with an almost obsessive focus on cost effectiveness. And that could be a total game changer. So let's talk about the chip itself and see what's actually under the hood. To really get where Trainium3 is headed, you've got to see how far it's come from the last version, Trainium2. And let me tell you, the jump in performance is pretty huge. This roadmap here lays it all out pretty clearly. I mean, just look at the columns for Trainium2 versus Trainium3. You can see the jump. We're going to focus on what I think are the three most critical upgrades: the raw compute power, the memory, and the connectivity. First thing, they've literally doubled the raw computational power. Specifically, they've doubled the throughput for something called OCP-MXFP8, which is a key data format that's really optimized for AI training. The bottom line here is that this directly translates into training your models way, way faster. Next up, a massive 70% boost in memory bandwidth. So how'd they pull that off? Well, they switched to top-tier memory suppliers like Hynix and Micron. This lets them just fire hose data into the processing cores at incredible speeds, which gets rid of bottlenecks and keeps the whole chip humming along at peak efficiency. And finally, they've doubled the bandwidth for communication between the chips by moving up to the next-gen PCI Gen 6 standard. You can think of this as the superhighway that connects all the chips inside one server. Doubling its speed, well, that's absolutely essential for handling the gigantic, complex AI models we're seeing today. But look, a powerful chip is basically useless if the system it's sitting in is slow. And this is where AWS made what might be its most revolutionary change, removing from the chip itself to the whole factory floor, so to speak. They've moved away from the older torus mesh design where chips could really only talk to their next-door neighbors to something called a switched fabric. The key difference? In a switched fabric, every single chip can talk directly to every other chip in the entire system. This all-to-all communication is a true game changer, and it's built specifically for the incredibly complex data patterns of modern AI models. And this image right here just illustrates it perfectly. Think of these new Neuralink switch trays as a massive, super smart highway interchange for all your data. Instead of data having to hop from one exit to the next to get across town, it can just take a direct on-ramp to anywhere it needs to go, instantly. This change in system design is honestly just as important as the upgrades to the chip itself. Okay, so we have a faster chip and a much smarter system, but why did AWS make these exact choices? To get that, we need to peel back the curtain and look at their core business strategy, their blueprint for this whole operation. This right here is their North Star. Deliver the fastest time to market at the lowest total cost of ownership, or TCO. Every single technical decision gets filtered through that lens. It's not about having the single fastest spec on a piece of paper. It's about delivering the absolute best performance for every single dollar you spend over the entire life of the system. And how they lower that cost? Well, it's nothing short of brilliant. So check out their PCIe switches from a company called Astera Labs. Because AWS promises to buy a ton of them, they get stock warrants in the company. As they buy more parts, those warrants vest, which basically gives them an equity rebate. And if you look at the table, you can see this wild strategy translates into a jaw-dropping 23% discount on a super critical component. But wait, it gets even crazier. Look at their deal with Credo for networking parts. The equity rebate from the stock warrants is so huge, we're talking over 300%, as you can see right here, that the value of the warrants AWS got is more than what they even paid for the parts. So yeah, in essence, Credo is literally paying Amazon to be their customer. This is how you weaponize your supply chain to crush that TCO. So let's put it all together. What does this all mean for the chip war? Where does Trainium3's whole strategy put it for the battles that are coming? Okay, so Trainium3 has some clear advantages. Its absolute obsession with TCO is a powerful weapon against more expensive rivals, its system design is flexible, and its entire philosophy is built around getting systems running and making money faster. The hurdles, though, are just as clear. Nvidia's CUDA is a fortress, and AWS has to build a really compelling open ecosystem to lure developers away. They also have to prove that Trainium is the best choice for all kinds of customers, not just for their own internal stuff and a few big partners. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. As challengers like AWS focus on the bigger picture, on cost, on flexibility, on speed to market, it really makes you wonder, will the future of AI be won by the company with the single fastest chip on paper, or the one with the smartest, most ruthless overall strategy? Trainium3 is Amazon's very calculated bet that it's going to be the latter.